To them, it is one notification. To you, it can feel like they left the conversation and chose something else.
The moment is usually small. You are halfway through a sentence, their eyes move down. The screen lights their face for 2 seconds. Then they look back and say they were listening.
But something has already changed. Your sentence may continue, yet the feeling underneath it is different. A moment ago, you were speaking to someone who seemed fully present. Now part of you is wondering whether this story matters, whether you are taking too long, or whether whatever appeared on that screen is more important than you.
That emotional jump can seem dramatic when the visible action was only a glance, but the mind does not experience attention as a neutral resource. In a close relationship, attention can function like evidence. It tells us that the other person is here, that the conversation is shared, and that our words are reaching someone.
When the eye contact breaks, the phone is not the only thing that enters the moment. Uncertainty enters with it. The common explanation is simple. A caring partner would not look at a phone while you are talking. Therefore, if they looked, they must not care enough. That conclusion feels clean because it turns an uncomfortable moment into an answer. It also skips several important steps.
The observable event is that attention moved. The emotional impact may be that you felt dismissed, replaced, or suddenly alone. The intention behind the movement is still unknown. Those 3 things can happen together, but they are not the same thing.
Researchers use the word phubbing for situations where someone withdraws attention from a person in front of them and directs it toward a phone. The awkward name matters less than what experiments have found.
In one laboratory interaction, people who were ignored for a phone reported more social exclusion, lower mood, and less desire to keep interacting with the other person. The interruption did not need to become a major argument first. The shift in attention itself changed how the interaction felt.
That helps explain why telling someone it was only 2 seconds often fails. The clock measures how long the eyes were gone. It does not measure what the moment communicated. The one glance versus a pattern, behavior, impact, and intention. Return and repair. Imagine that you are sharing something ordinary, like a story from work. The phone lights up. You may feel mildly annoyed. Now imagine that you are admitting that you felt embarrassed, scared, or hurt. The same glance can land very differently because the conversation asked for more trust. The behavior is similar. The emotional stakes are not. This is where the phone becomes more than an object. It becomes a competitor inside the conversation. You are not only waiting for the eyes to return, you are waiting to learn whether the connection will return with them. Do they acknowledge that they left? Do they explain that the message is urgent? Do they put the phone down and invite you to continue? Or do they say they heard everything while their attention keeps moving away?
Research on romantic relationships has found that partner phone distraction is associated with lower satisfaction, intimacy, responsiveness, and emotional closeness. That does not prove that a phone causes every relationship problem. Much of this evidence is correlational. Strained relationships may also create more withdrawal into devices. Still, one idea appears repeatedly. Perceived responsiveness matters. Responsiveness is not constant agreement. It is the sense that the other person notices what is happening, understands why it matters, and responds in a way that shows your experience registered.
That is why a partner can put the phone away and still leave the rupture open.
If they return with irritation, deny that anything happened, or make you defend why you wanted attention, the emotional message may become larger than the original glance.
The problem is no longer only divided attention. It is the absence of repair. But there is another mistake waiting on the opposite side. Because the hurt is real, it is tempting to treat the first interpretation as proven.
They looked away, so they rejected me. They checked the screen, so I am not important. They did not respond perfectly, so the relationship is unsafe.
The feeling deserves attention. The conclusion still requires evidence.
A phone glance may come from habit, work, anxiety, an expected family update, or a notification that the person checked before thinking. None of those possibilities erase the impact. They do change what the moment might mean.
This creates the central contradiction. You can feel rejected even when rejection was not intended, and someone can have harmless intent while still creating a real experience of disconnection.
Intent and impact are not opponents. They are two parts of the same event.
The next question is not who is allowed to be right. The next question is what happens after attention leaves. Start with the pattern, not the panic. A single interruption gives you very little information. A repeated interruption, followed by dismissal, gives you more. There are 5 things to watch: timing, frequency, explanation, return, and repair. First, timing. Did the phone appear during a casual pause or during a moment that clearly required care? Checking a delivery update while deciding what to eat is different from checking the same notification while your partner is describing a fear they have never shared before.
Second, frequency. Almost everyone loses attention sometimes. The more useful question is whether the same person repeatedly leaves important conversations for a screen, especially after the impact has been explained. Third, explanation. A short sentence can change the emotional meaning of the interruption.
I need to check whether my sister reached home safely. My manager is calling. Can I take this and come back in 5 minutes? An explanation does not erase the interruption, but it replaces some of the missing information that fear would otherwise supply.
Fourth, return.
Do they actually come back? Not only physically. Do their eyes return? Do they remember where you stopped? Do they ask you to continue? Do they put the phone away or keep one part of their attention reserved for the next vibration? And fifth, repair. When you say the moment hurt, can the two of you discuss it without turning the conversation into a trial? This is the major difference between an accidental rupture and an established pattern. Healthy connection does not require perfect attention. It requires enough responsiveness that small disconnections can be noticed and repaired.
The phone glance creates incomplete information. The pattern after the glance provides better evidence. That means the most useful response is not, "You always choose your phone over me." That statement may express the pain, but it also claims a motive and invites the other person to defend every phone check they have ever made.
A clearer response has 4 parts. Name what happened, name the impact, ask for the immediate repair, then discuss the future pattern. It might sound like this.
When I was telling you what happened today and you looked at your phone, I lost the feeling that we were in the conversation together. I know you may not have meant it that way. Can you put it down for 2 minutes and let me finish?
Afterward, can we decide what we want to do with phones during important conversations? Notice what this does not say. It does not call the other person selfish. It does not demand permanent access to their attention. It does not require them to agree that the glance was rejection. It makes the observable event clear, explains the impact, asks for reconnection, and creates a shared decision instead of a hidden test. The person who checked the phone also has a repair available. I was checking a family message, but I can see that I disappeared while you were talking. Put the phone down. Start again from the part about the meeting. Sometimes the explanation will be reasonable and the repair will be easy. Sometimes the same conversation will happen again and again. The phone will keep winning. Your concern will be mocked, minimized, or turned into proof that you are controlling. At that point, the issue is no longer whether one notification was harmless. The issue is whether the relationship can make room for a clearly expressed need for attention. There are also moments when a phone genuinely must interrupt. Parenting, medical updates, emergencies, caregiving, and certain jobs can create real availability demands. Shared expectations matter more than pretending every couple should follow one universal phone rule. The goal is not a relationship where nobody ever looks away. The goal is a relationship where attention can leave without connection becoming impossible to find again. So when the phone lights up and the familiar fear says, "I just became less important," slow the conclusion down.
Name the behavior, notice the impact, look for context, then watch the return and the repair.
The glance can hurt. The hurt deserves a response. But the strongest evidence is not the screen itself. It is what the two of you do next. That is where safety becomes shared practice instead of a guessing game. Attention matters, but repair tells you whether connection can recover.
When a partner looks at a phone while you are speaking, what affects you most? The interruption, the lack of explanation, or the way they respond when you mention it? Share the part that matters most to you in the comments. For more conversations about attention, boundaries, and repair without manipulation tricks, subscribe to The New Bond.